I interviewed one of Deepwoken's biggest exploit developers who makes cheats and hacking scripts for Deepwoken. If you enjoy, make sure to subscribe, and also my face reveal is dropping tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the live channel. Buy YouTube membership to hear my monthly song covers, and now let's get straight into it. Alright, so I did interview him via a voice call, however he has a pretty bad microphone, and on top of that, this preserves some anonymity and makes it more concise. Because honestly, it's much easier and more concise if I just script this video with answers to the questions that I got, and it would also make more sense to you guys in a more clear way, because honestly his microphone was pretty bad, so I had to kind of go through and decipher some of his answers. So I'll be restating all answered questions, but I might show some of the call where he screen shares some of his cheat stuff as the background footage. And along with that, little message for the Deepwoken mods: I cannot be banned via your own rules. I did not play Deepwoken with him, I did not benefit in-game off of him in any way. In the same way you don't ban people for being friends with key exploits like Agamatsu is on Discord, and yet you ban people for being in his Discord, you can't ban me for this video or anything that goes on in this video. So yeah, if you ban me, I'm just gonna make a big deal out of it, and it's gonna be annoying for the mod team. Like, it's not worth the effort. I'm just gonna get unbanned anyway. And this goes out to anyone who might know the name of the cheat or the developer that I'm talking about. Don't talk about it in the comments. Like, don't put the name in the comments. Don't ask about it in the comments, because if you do, I'm just gonna delete your comment or even ban you from commenting, because I'm not trying to advertise for these guys. I'm trying to spread awareness about it so that way maybe the developers can, you know, improve their game's anti-cheat. So no talking about scripts or anything in the comments, please. Like, you can talk about everything in this video, but don't talk about, oh, the script is named this, you can buy it here, and stuff like that. I'm gonna ban you from commenting. Anyway, let's get straight into the questioning, starting off with how good is Deepwoken's anti-cheat and how easy is it to bypass? The answer for this one is not very good, but yes, it is quite easy to bypass Deepwoken's anti-cheat. So to get into the advanced answer, first of all, Deepwoken's anti-cheat actually has a pre-made bypass script that currently exists. Like, there is a free code base to bypass Deepwoken's anti-cheat. However, the developer who I interviewed for this video chose to make his own, in case the base one that many people use for their own personal scripts is patched. Funny thing though, Deepwoken's anti-cheat is worse than Rogue Lineage's, its predecessor game, and has also gone without a major change or update since 2024. At least a good major change or update. Rogue Lineage actually has better anti-cheat than Deepwoken, auto-banning people for certain free scripts and executors. However, Deepwoken's anti-cheat doesn't automatically detect lots of these free scripts. Along with that, do you guys remember the Rock the Boat updates? The two of them? Well, these updates were kind of broken, and people were getting falsely banned by the AA, or anti-air gun, which is a part of the anti-cheat in Deepwoken and Rogue Lineage meant to ban people flying. Instead of, I don't know, reworking the AA gun to accommodate Rock the Boat and not ban people on boats, they outright removed it. Currently, there is no anti-air and not even a vertical or horizontal velocity cap, so you can fly straight up as fast as you want, and you can almost fly as fast as you want horizontally place to place, which is really dumb. Along with that, Deepwoken doesn't actually have the same anti-no-clipping features that Rogue Lineage had, because back when Rogue Lineage was very popular, you used to be able to clip through walls in Roblox by kind of like turning your camera really fast against corners. It was a weird Roblox exploit that Roblox eventually patched out. But because they patched that out, I guess the Deepwoken developers didn't think it was necessary to take the anti-no-clip part of the anti-cheat and put it in Deepwoken, but in reality, all it does is make it so you can farm bosses under the floor and attack people under the floor and stuff like that, which is really dumb. It should be in this game. Next question: do any YouTubers, mods, testers, or community figures use your exploits? First of all, this allows me to answer another question real quick. Exploit developers do have access to quite a bit of info on your computer. So this one in particularly takes Roblox IDs, Discord usernames, your computer exploit bin file, which is basically where your other scripts and cheats are stored, and more. And this is all the developer who I spoke to actually monitors, but generally an exploit developer can access pretty much your entire computer's files and system. With that being said, yes, actually, a lot of YouTubers specifically have used his scripts, but no really large names. Like, imagine every gank YouTuber you've seen with maybe a few thousand subscribers. It's mostly those people who use cheats out of anyone that would be kind of known, and not really anyone important. But to be fair, a lot of these YouTubers probably just hand off their accounts to friends and stuff, or people who progress the accounts for them, because just because your account has been exploited on doesn't necessarily mean that you are an exploiter or that you actively do it. Because I mean, I could imagine like gank YouTubers who need a new build every week because they wipe them so much, just having other people do it for them, or having fans do it for them on alts and stuff, and the stuff like that just becomes like you got fans exploiting on your account, so maybe you have like logs saying that you might have cheated. There are also a few ex-moderators, but nobody who's currently relevant in Deepwoken really. Also, someone else asked if he sells user data that he collects, and the answer is no, because it's just not valuable. Which, side rant from me, this is unrelated, but nobody wants your data as a person except for corporations. I think too many people get too hung up on like how certain things track your data or your email or stuff. Google and Meta want your data, yeah, but no individual person in the universe cares about your data data other than maybe credit card info or social security numbers because there's nobody to sell it to. You cannot sell people's data as a regular person. All the corporations that sell data and share data with each other have deals with each other to share or sell each other data. So no singular non-corporate entity has much use for like 99% of your data. The only data that any individual person would want from you are passwords, credit card info, and social security numbers. Nothing else matters. Like, I've seen some people who don't want to submit to my drip submissions because when you submit on a Google form, it says that some data will be recorded when you're submitting the form. By the way, the data it's recording is literally just the image or video you're sending in. That's the data that's being recorded. It's not tracking your email. I don't track your emails. And even if I did, I don't give a fuck about your emails. Sorry, this is a side rant because someone brought that up to me the other day and it's just so annoying when people say that. Like, I don't care about your data. Nobody cares about your data. And the people who do care about your data already have it. Anyway, next question. Why did you get into scripting Deepwoken cheats? Well, this specific developer initially actually started off by developing Minecraft client hacks because he didn't like Minecraft PvP, which by the way, Minecraft PvP is trash. I know, side rant again, but sorry. And then he used to play Rogue Lineage, and the black marketing and exploit scene for that game was massive. Like, people have made thousands of dollars black marketing accounts on Rogue Lineage just because of how hard that game was. So he ended up making scripts for Rogue Lineage and then for Deepwoken. And both of these scripts started out as just like a small group of friends and him would have access to it and he wouldn't actually share them publicly. But over time he started selling them and they're pretty much entirely advertised via word of mouth and trashy exploit YouTubers. Speaking of how much he sells, how much of Deepwoken's player base exploits and how many sales have you made? The ballpark estimate for sales that he gave me for his script was above 9,000 individual sales, so around 9,000 to 10,000 individual people have bought just this one developer script for Deepwoken. And keep in mind, this is just one script. There are many exploit developers for Deepwoken that sell their scripts, so just this one sold a lot. Along with that, his estimate was that about 25% of all Deepwoken players have exploited at some point, in comparison to like peak numbers around 50 to 60,000, and that on average 7 to 10% of the active concurrent player base is cheating at any moment when people are on the game. And when the game's player count drops lower, the concentration of cheaters is way higher, such as when the game was as low as 2,200 players, about 30% of all the players on were cheating, meaning cheaters play the game with more longevity than the average person. Now this one's pretty funny. Why can I run Cyberpunk with max graphics and shaders and not have any delay or lag, but I get lag spikes on Deepwoken? This one's simple, but optimization. There are actually cheats that re-optimize the game by replacing client-sided models with much lower poly ones because of this. You heard it. Exploit developers are re-optimizing the game because it's so poorly optimized. I think the biggest showing of this was something Archmage posted in the dev corner recently, where he re-optimized one of the models for, I think it was the Starduster, from 25,000 tries down to 3,500. Now, if you don't know what a try is, they're basically little vertexes, tiny little parts that every 3D model for every game ever is made from. The Starduster was 25,000 tries. For reference, big models in like AAA games with like super high-end graphics, a weapon or a clothing model will generally not be more than 9,000. The Starduster was 25,000. Now it's 3,500, but honestly, for the simplicity of it, I think you could probably get it down to like half of that, but it just shows how poorly Deepwoken and most Roblox games in general are optimized. But you gotta remember, most Deepwoken developers are considered amateurs by anything. We don't have the budget in Deepwoken games or the professionalism in Deepwoken games that AAA companies have to be able to get these models down to like 5,000 tries. I'll talk a bit more about this later in the big picture sort of thing, but you guys get it. Do you feel like you're ruining Deepwoken? Now, this developer said no for a few reasons. First of all, he only sells and makes PvE related cheats. So generally his cheats don't affect the player base, since at worst, if you find someone using this dev script, they're a boosted cheater without auto parry, because he doesn't really make auto parry. People are gonna cheat regardless, so he feels like he might as well make a profit off of it, especially because he doesn't really affect the PvP side of the game very much. How does monster voiding work, and why could some monsters be voided for a while, and now none can except for Parasol? Essentially, the way monster voiding worked, the way he explained it to me, was exploiting an issue in Deepwoken's lazy code, where many monster interactions were scripted client-sided, giving the player client authority over them. So the game server wouldn't calculate where a mob was, instead it would use your screen to calculate where a mob was. So this would make it less laggy, but along with that, it made it so you could kind of just edit the coordinates of a monster's location on your client end of things, and the server would just listen to you. Apparently many mantras also had the same issue, meaning that you could edit some characteristics of certain mantras like damage, damage, range, hitbox size, etc. Meaning at one point it was probably possible to have a server-wide one-shot on people, but luckily nobody really exploited that. Right now, only Parasol still has this random issue with user authority, so it's still voidable with cheats, but other monsters aren't. So it's really just an issue with Parasol relying too much on client-sided information. How detectable are these cheats, and will we ever see it combated? Most of the issues used in these exploits are detectable, but may not be fixed anytime soon. Light, for example, is super easily detectable, but Deepwoken removed the AA gun due to the Rock the Boat update. No clipping is an easy fix too, which has actually been implemented into Rogue Lineage, but Deepwoken didn't use the same anti-no clip system as Rogue Lineage. And Deepwoken's developers could make an anti-auto parry system in game, but they still haven't. And many of the progression-based exploits make the game super easy to cheat in because of how Deepwoken has so many solo dungeon instanced bosses like Duke or Ferryman, meaning you can essentially infinitely auto-farm those bosses because you can never get reported. Moderator detectors on script clients also make it super easy to evade moderators, which in my opinion, I think Deepwoken mods should be ghosts at this point. It's so easy to avoid them if you have cheats, so let's just start giving mods alts to moderate on and not let them into the mod office. They'd catch so many more cheaters if they just were on alts, not on the mod office, like observing people or something like that. How often do you need to maintain your script? Very rarely, when something small is patched, but it usually only requires a small rescript to bypass the game's anti-cheat. However, this developer does like updating his exploit, so he works maybe 20 to 30 hours a week on it and has a lot of joke features on it that just like don't have really any reason to exist. Like he put like a bunch of mini games, so while you're auto progressing your build, you can play Tetris or Snake. Is it out of passion or business? It was initially out of fun as he only gave his script to friends, but he then realized he could make a ton of money off of it and people were going to buy exploits regardless, so he decided to start selling his script and kind of turned it into a job. Now, what kind of script does this specific developer make? Basically just PvE stuff, auto progression scripts. Somehow this dumbass cheat can make a full build where you just kind of input a Deepwoken builder link, including shrines, in like 30 minutes. It also farms PvE bosses and stuff like that, and it is just the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like, he showed me clips of him doing it, and this is like really dumb. It's so insane how fast he can make builds, honestly. So that brings me to my thoughts. Deepwoken, you need to up your anti-cheat and stop taking the lazy way out. The fact that there are so many anti-cheat features missing from even Rogue Lineage, which came out like 5 years before Deepwoken, is insane. There's no anti-no-clip, which would solve basically every form of auto-boss farming in the game, because currently the way the auto-boss farming scripts work is they just no-clip under the map and hit the boss until it's dead while being invulnerable. If you guys just added an anti-no-clip the way it was in Rogue Lineage, you wouldn't be able to do this, and it would make it so much harder to cheese bosses, assuming they use server authority, because you'd then have to actually get within range of the bosses, which would make you able to get hit so freshies couldn't be farming ferrymen. There's like 5 different ways to check for this. Then we also have no AA gun. Instead of reworking Rock the Boat or the AA gun to be compatible, you guys just removed part of the game's anti-cheat and never actually re-added it, which is dumb. We could at least add some velocity caps with strike systems and boom, flying fixed. And I know some people are gonna say, well, what if I get flung? That's what the invisible strike system is for. Make it so that way if someone goes past certain velocity caps multiple times within a short period of time, then they get banned, so that way people who don't get randomly flung by Roblox physics get banned. It's that simple. Deepwoken just needs major anti-cheat updates. Auto parry has gotten so bad that exploiters had to make anti-auto parry scripts because even the people cheating in your game are getting tired of the cheaters in your game. If cheaters want more legit fights in your game, then there is a problem. Which, by the way, this developer estimated that like 7 to 10% of people are cheating at any given time, but it's probably more than that because he only has information on his script, and his script doesn't even have PvP cheat features, so imagine all the people who are using PvP cheats on top of that. And then there's optimization. You're telling me people are selling scripts to optimize your game better? Bro, start hiring these exploit developers. Because yeah, there is zero reason why AAA games with realistic graphics should be running better than Deepwoken. Even Archmage was working on some reworks because what the fuck? 25,000 tries down to 3.5k tries. For reference, here is a well-optimized model. Johnny Silverhand's gun from Cyberpunk 2077 is very realistic looking. 4,500 tries. With that being said, I feel like the Starduster can still get much lower. 25,000 is disgusting. Kratos' Leviathan Axe in God of War is 9,000 tries. How the fuck was the Starduster ever 25,000? But yes, good job Archmage, more optimizing. But even then, I feel like 3.5k tries is way too much, seeing as how Johnny's gun, the Malorian Arms gun, is only 4,500 tries, and that game literally makes realistic models that are meant to look lifelike. And then the lowish medium poly Roblox model is still 3,500. I think you guys could get it to like 1,000 if you maybe optimized it super well. And I know Deepwoken is currently undergoing the Across the Boundary update, and it's hard to to balance what's needed versus what's wanted. Because anti-cheat and bug fixes and optimization doesn't bring in players the way Across the Boundary and Layer 3 and Void Tower and stuff like that does, but oh my god. This is the problem with Deepwokens' development team size. It's a small team working on one of the most ambitious games on all of Roblox. We shouldn't be expecting the same people who do content updates to be doing the anti-cheat and the optimizing and the bug fixes and the weekly updates. Deepwoken needs either more developers or better prioritizing of updates. Like man, just go hire some exploit developer to fix the anti-cheat. I guarantee the people making cheats will probably make a better anti-cheat than you guys have right now. And back to the prioritization of updates, I think Rock the Boat is a great example of this. I know Rock the Boat was kind of necessary because boats really sucked and you couldn't even fight on them and you'd get flung by boats, you'd fall off of boats for standing on them, you had to emote on them and all that stuff. But Rock the Boat should not have consumed as much resources and time as it did just for you guys to go ahead and take the lazy way out of deleting the AA gun. You guys should have either fully committed to Rock the Boat, fix the AA gun based around it, or you guys shouldn't have done it at all. Stop half-assing updates. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed my video. If you had more questions, you should probably leave them down below. Maybe I can answer them because the developer of these cheats did tell me a bunch of other stuff that I didn't really include in this video that just didn't seem outright important, but maybe if you guys have some like really specific questions, I could answer them. My face reveal should be dropping tomorrow from when you guys watch this, Saturday 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Reaconteur Live. New song cover dropping soon, so if you want to hear my song covers, I drop one a month. Buy a YouTube membership at any tier, all my members can hear them. And shout out to my YouTube members of tier 2 or higher: Philip, Akiosugi Kuni, Zerksky, Fun Guns, Crypto, Broccoli, Delusional Mo, Suited Wendigo, Love You, Mwah, Silos, Bunny Masher, Freshie, Theo's Banners, Corin, Captain Frost, Jay Wa, and Drizzy Drake Fan. I love you all, hope you have an amazing day, and goodbye.